Welcome to the We Are Pools podcast. I am your host, Ralph, and we have a special guest today coming all the way from El Paso, Texas, Victor with Victory Pool Care LLC. Thanks for stopping by and taking the time to come on here and chat with me, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. First of all, I'd like to start by saying this whole idea of the pool genre podcast, We Are Pools, super awesome. Where's these platforms going to be posted, if you don't mind me asking?
Just first I got Instagram, and I'll be posting them on YouTube. So for now, it's just mainly geared towards YouTube, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But the whole objective of it is to, create a safe environment, a safe platform for, industry professionals and even home owners that want to get some information on the ins and outs of swimming pools. It's a full of ups and downs. It's an abyss of knowledge that you can get into. So, you know, hopefully we can create a platform where, you can take information and experiences through, the guests that we have on here, and, have room for growth, and, so just positive energy here, for everyone alike. So that's pretty much the whole point of it. But so tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into pools, and what do you do for your line of work with pools?
Well, definitely. My name is Victor. Victor with Victory Pool Care LLC. Our main platform is on Instagram at Victory Pool Care LLC, and we are based out of the northeast portion of El Paso, Texas. We do service the majority of Texas, but at this moment in time, we are putting more efforts into the northeast of El Paso, and that's Northeast El Paso in Texas at Victory Pool Care LLC on Instagram. To answer your question, our main objective, our main service that we offer is routine pool maintenance. We also do filter cleaning services, mild upgrades, mild to light. We also can subcontract work if you're interested in other, like, let's say, bigger tasks. But for Victory Pool Care LLC in itself, we'd like to identify as a high quality routine pool maintenance company. Um, yes, we are a pool maintenance company. We offer shit. I'm having a brain fart. We offer weekly pool maintenance and bi-weekly pool maintenance. So how do you know if you need weekly pool maintenance, bi-weekly pool maintenance? Well, if you're a heavy pool user, if you have, let's say, family, let's say you have a heater and you're capable of using your pool all year long, and or commercial pools, if you have an indoor pool, uh, that is something that we maintain probably on a twice a week basis. But everything is based on your needs, on your situation. But that is what we offer weekly and bi-weekly at the most.
Okay, and so I mean, how did you get into pool maintenance? Was it something that you've been doing for a long time? Somebody got you into it, or I obviously know the backstory, but just for the listeners out there.
Well, obviously, you and I know how I got started, but again, like you said, for the listeners, um, you and I are siblings, blood siblings, and in my, let's say, career timeline, when I used to have, let's say, the 9 to 5 job, and for some reason the 9 to 5 lifestyle didn't work out in my own personal life, and that's when I came to you seeking information on the pool industry, in which, you opened the doors for me. You placed me in a location where it was a pool maintenance company with one of your network groups of friends, which to this day I have the utmost respect for. Um, so I started as an employee of another pool service company, and that's when I got my foot in the door, started cleaning pools, and I thought to myself, "Wow, this is something that I can do. It is something that is, it's 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 always in demand because pools are in the backyards, chemistry, debris, etc. There's always something to do in the world of pools.
Right, right. And so more or less, do you remember a time frame when you started? Was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
I've been doing this for quite some time now. I'm not gonna get to the exact dates, but I'm gonna estimate somewhere in the time frame of I've been doing pool maintenance for about 8 years.
Okay.
And so in that period of time of myself doing pool maintenance, I'll tell you this, it's something I enjoy to this day. Thankfully for myself, when I see a pool that's, let's say, filled with debris, branches, leaves, garbage bags from the winds, I still personally enjoy the before and after. I like giving the homeowners, the property owners, the satisfaction of being able to use their pools, and they're always very thankful because out here in El Paso, let's say right now it is currently December. December just started, and in the city of El Paso, Texas, we get high winds. We get high winds, and this particular area, there's a lot of dirt. Again, we're in the desert, so there's a lot of dirt, and the trees, the leaves are
Right.
always falling into the pools. So it's an extremely high demand out here.
So to kind of like recap, the way you got into pools was, I helped you a little bit. I do know that I didn't really like hold your hand. I just kind of told you, hey, I can get you in contact with one of my friends, and just if you like it, go ahead and do it. It's really good. And you kind of took it and went with it. Do you recall, obviously you said you came from, what part of town were you in before you moved into El Paso, Texas?
I was in Rancho Cucamonga, California, which is in the southern part of California,
Okay.
and I relocated. And when I relocated, I obviously had to select a location where my work is still in demand. So I selected a desert town, a good town, a nice town, actually a very, very nice town, underestimated,
Right.
undervalued. Um, I love El Paso.
Right.
El Paso is a really nice city. Now, it's not as big as, let's say, Rancho Cucamonga, California,
Right.
but there's a lot of perks here. There's a lot of law enforcement. There's a lot of military. There's almost every type of law enforcement in El Paso. There's
Right.
the police department. There's the highway patrol. There's the park rangers.
Sounds safe
There's
over there.
yeah, it's actually very safe, even though we're bordering the Mexico border. We're near
Right.
the next Mexico border. But
Right.
I've been here for going on almost 2 years,
Do you
and to be honest, go ahead.
not to like cut you off, but do you remember if you notice any like significant differences in the types of pools that you were maintaining out here in Rancho Cucamonga, California versus over there in El Paso, Texas?
There's not really much differences. Maybe some of the since El Paso is again a beautiful area. There's also a lot of older areas, older homes,
Right.
um, and there's probably a good amount of let's say the homes that were built 20, 30 years ago. They have the pool pre-existing for 20, 30 years. I mean, some pools do require upgrades and this and that, but I respectfully will say that's probably in all areas.
Right.
There's always a home, there's always going to be a pool that requires some sort of upkeep.
Right. Right. And what were your, when you first got into, your first day on the job, back in California, what were your first thoughts of pool maintenance? Was it something where you kind of took a step back and said, can I or can I do this? Or was it something that immediately kind of just drew your attention to it? What were those thoughts like?
Okay, so first of all, on that note, Um, Pool maintenance is not my first business.
Mhm.
I also have a history in auto detail,
Right.
and that was a business that I had to grow myself as well. Um, so I have a little bit of experience in let's say the entrepreneurial side of it. Now, to answer your question, when I got started into the pools, um, I enjoyed it. It
Right.
was fun. I was outdoors. You get to meet cool people.
Right.
You get to see some really awesome pools, some massive pools, some small pools,
Right.
and I enjoyed it. And I thought to myself, wow, I can do this. This
Right.
is, and to this day, again, moving forward till December 2023, going on to 2024,
Mhm.
I still enjoy what I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite things too. Working with pools so long is not only do you get to see just some amazing backyards, but you also get to meet some really cool people along the way. And then the beauty of it also is, I mean, we're always constantly learning. Like just when you think that you've learned something, you go in somebody else's backyard that has a totally different pool, it's totally different layout that you can learn something new off of each thing. So I think at least, for me, it's a constant, endless loop of just continuous knowledge and continuous learning. Do you ever feel that way when you're going into all the different backyards now that you've kind of been doing this for quite some time now? Do you ever feel like you feel like, I've already learned everything I needed to know, but what else can I possibly know? And then next thing you know, you run into a different type of pool that you just are learning something new. Do you ever come across something like that?
Thankfully for myself, I have and have always had the mindset of being a forever student.
Mm,
I never want to come out and make it seem like I know every single thing about pools because things are forever evolving.
right,
So I'll give you even to the smallest detail of an example in El Paso, Texas, where we are currently located.
right.
They have more common what's called sand filters.
Hmm.
And in Southern California, where I originally started, I've never even seen or heard of a sand filter.
Right,
So now, not to discuss the pros and cons of the sand filter
right,
specifically, because everybody has their own opinion, and
right.
that's fine. Um, but that's something I had to learn when I
Yeah,
got here. I said, "Oh, sand filter, interesting."
right,
But thankfully, you have a lot of available tools and resources. You can look it up online. Hey, what's the pros and cons of this? And when you start putting your hands on these items, getting a feel for it, asking the locals of their experiences with, let's say, for example, the sand filter, they're going to give you their feedback. I
right,
like it. I dislike it. I should have got this.
right.
I'm happy I got this. So yeah, I'm a forever student of what I do in my pool service
Okay.
niche.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because yeah, when I think about majority of the pool equipment sets, at least where I'm located I'm in East Riverside County now, and I mean the average pool equipment set has either a DE filter or a cartridge filter. I want to say that I've only ran into like a handful of sand filters throughout my career, and that's since about 2008. So that's pretty interesting. Is it like the majority of pools out there have sand filters, or just a handful, but like more than what you're used to seeing from California?
Not at all. Not I don't want to make it seem like every single pool,
Right.
every single property has a sand filter.
Hmm.
Bigger pools, let's say like 30,000 gallon pools, 40,000 gallon pools, they commonly have sand filters.
Right.
They're out there.
Right.
I am not in shock when I see one,
Mm.
but they're not in every location. It's pretty much homeowner slash builder's personal preference and recommendations,
Right.
and it's based on giving that knowledge to these homeowners, to these property owners, to these builders, what you feel is the
Right.
best for what your needs are. Now,
Right.
like kind of to get a little bit into the details of filters, uh, DEs are great filters,
Hmm.
but in the service perspective, let's say the homeowner wants to service their own DE filter, it can be complex.
Right.
So in that aspect, let's say the homeowner has a pool service company, but they're also capable. There's a lot of
Yeah.
capable people that, hey, I'll just do my own filter cleaning service, and that's fine.
Right.
We're not shy about that. If you want to do it yourself, that's fine. But in simplicity, I would personally recommend cartridge filters
Right.
because they're just, I mean, in my humble opinion,
Hmm.
very easy to do. It's hard to mess something up.
Right.
Filters, they can be complex even for people that are in the business.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I think I probably serviced like one sand filter very early on, and I remember I didn't like it for whatever reason. I thought it was just a pain in the butt. I had to take out all this sand, carry heavy bags of new sand, put it back in there, reload it, and I just remember being like a very long, kind of like gut wrenching experience. So that's probably why I never really like done too much education or any like further research on sand filters. But again, majority of the equipment, that's like I said, it's usually a cartridge or a DE, and they work fine for what they're intended to be used for. So yeah, everybody has their personal preferences. Some homeowners might have better chances of servicing their own filters on a cartridge because it's a little bit easier. Whereas the DE, I can definitely see how it would be complicated for. I mean, especially if you've never taken one apart and you got to put that thing back together, it could probably be kind of crazy, right? But so aside from on the filter standpoint, what about weather conditions out there in El Paso? Is summertime heat a little wild out there? And what about as we're getting closer to the colder season now? What's the winter time look like out there in that area?
Okay, so that's a great question. The summertime is hot, but again, when you're a pool service provider, you have to go or be at a place where your work is in demand. So I specifically chose living in the desert because that's where my skill set is. That's where the majority of my services are in hot areas, uh, hot pools. I mean, think of the difference between the amount of pools there is in, let's say, El Paso, Texas, versus, let's say, Seattle, Washington, let's say Colorado. You may not have as much demand. I'm not gonna say there's no demand because there's
Right.
obviously will always be demand, but I selected the desert because I knew there was more opportunity in in what I was seeking.
Right. Right.
But specifically, it's hot here. It's
Hmm.
hot. The summers are hot. You
Right.
got to keep that in mind. It can be in the hundreds. The in the winter, yeah, it can get dropped down to the 30s or so.
Hmm.
It's still
Damn.
cold. In the winters, I'll say out here, this is going to be my second cold season in El Paso, Texas.
Hmm.
And from the first winter going on to the second one, it gets very windy here in the cold seasons.
Right.
So
Right.
those winds are consistently blowing debris, blowing dirt. Again, because we're in the desert, there's a lot of dirt.
Right.
So all that dirt is just consistently getting blown into the pools. All that debris, all those leaves falling,
Hmm.
your neighbors' leaves, you know,
Yeah. Everybody's
those cool neighbors that don't trim
some
that overgrown eucalyptus tree
right. What
or
about
the
any
pine
like
trees.
furniture and stuff blown into the next person's backyard?
I've had furniture in pools. I had barbecue grills in pools.
Right,
Um,
because some of your guys, the property walls down over there in El Paso are kind of short, right? Like out
we
here,
have
most of our property walls are like 6 feet.
Yeah, we
So
have short property walls. I mean, I don't know why they do that. I don't get it.
yeah,
Like,
but it
I don't
is what
want
it
to
is.
look at my neighbor. I want to have that privacy.
Right.
So a lot of people have let's say, rock walls,
Hmm.
and then they have to extend it with steel add-ons,
Right.
or add-on with the rock wall,
Right.
or they get the fence or
Right.
those plasticer
Right.
type of fencing.
But you
But
haven't seen
I
like
don't know why
no,
that's like that.
you
It's
haven't
kind of
seen
weird. I don't like it.
you haven't seen any like trampolines or nothing blow into.
I've seen trampolines blowing. I haven't seen one in a pool, but I've seen them blow out of people's backyards. That's how bad the winds get out here.
Damn, that's
Um,
crazy.
I had my first cold season. My trash cans were blowing all over the place. I had to strap them down. I had to
Right.
do some reinforcements to get them
Right.
strapped down, bungee cords, etc. But yeah, the wind
Okay.
in the cold season, we're battling with debris, trash, and you got to get it all out.
Yeah.
You can't just let it keep on piling up in your
No.
pool. It's releasing all kinds of chemicals, especially, like, for example, debris from trees and whatnot like that.
Right.
It's releasing phosphates.
Hmm.
If you're in the pool industries, you know that phosphates is like food for algae. So
Right.
when it gets hot and you're starting to build up all that algae and you're not treating those phosphates, you kind of already know what to do. Like,
Right.
oh, darn, we got to treat these phosphates.
Right. Do you so yeah, so with the crazy elements that you're dealing with throughout the year, are there certain things that you do differently in El Paso that you used to do maybe in California, like equipment, chemistry? Are there certain any differences that you've kind of like implemented that now that you are kind of dealing with like a different type of pool out there with different elements of nature?
Actually, the one specific adjustment I had to make, which I think I also brought a little bit of change to the local supply stores, which
Hmm.
I'm talking about the very few that I deal with because I only deal with a couple supply stores.
Right.
But um, in California, it was a lot of liquid chlorine, and
Hmm.
out here it's shock,
Right.
pretty much powder
Right.
form of chlorine. So that's an adjustment I had to make when I go to the supply store when I just arrived. Where's the liquid chlorine? And it's like, we don't have that. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Damn, that's
I
crazy.
was coming with my California mindset, like,
Right.
how do you clean pools?
Right. 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 So they're
So
looking at you like,
again,
what are you talking about?
yeah, no, well, since El Paso is a small town compared to, other areas, well, especially that I'm from Rancho Cucamonga, California, in the
Right.
Southern California area.
Right.
They're very knowledgeable too. They're very, very, so they're not like, they know
Yeah,
what the stuff is.
exactly.
They know in California they use a lot more liquid. In Florida they use a lot more liquid.
Right.
Um, and in California there were recyclables, so you use the liquid chlorine, take it back to the supply store, they refill them. Here
Right.
they're all disposable.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow, that's pretty
But
interesting. Hmm.
there is a tremendous perks of shock in powdered form versus liquid chlorine.
Right.
And so, for example, the powdered shock is great to use for routine pool maintenance. It's less storage space because it's powdered form, and
Right.
liquid chlorine, takes up more storage space. But liquid chlorine, it's amazing when you have a green pool because it
Right.
works instantaneously.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
again, years of experience will give you your best method of tackling whatever pool challenges you have
Hmm.
in front of you.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, because yeah, I mean that's important. I mean, sometimes you might be in areas that there aren't these types of supplies that you would normally be used to using, and you had to adapt and you had to learn and kind of reinvent your methods a little bit. But it sounds like with the suppliers you deal with, it's another day in the life, and everybody kind of is on the same page and knows what to do to tackle, like you said, every particular pool that it's turning green, got algae infestation. So that's actually really interesting.
And,
um
and, and going back to the when we were discussing, I'm a forever student. There's
right.
always something to learn, and thankfully, because I like to say that I try to use the top quality products, and these supply stores that I use, their employees, the retail store associates, they've been there for 10, 15 years, and they
Right.
lived, let's say, in El Paso their whole lives.
Right.
So even networking with the right people, that way you get the best answers possible, plus some independent research. Um, that's the way I like to associate myself.
Are so since back to the high winds and all that, I would assume like you're mentioning, there's a lot of dirt and debris that are getting blown into pools. What does that do for, let's say, when you go and vacuum your pools? Is it a constant, never-ending battle of clogged underground lines, filters, wear and tear on equipment? What's that kind of like?
Well, I'll say I have two opinions on that. And it's going to be opinion number one is if you're vacuuming with a skimmer, you're probably going to likely clog up those filters. If you get a branch in there, you might clog the plumbing, and you have to get your plumbing cleaned out, blown out, whatever the case is. But excuse me. See, our company at Victory Pool Care LLC, which you can find on Instagram, we use our own portable vacuum cleaners, which I'll tell you this, that the amount of the dirt, let's just speak on the dirt topic for now. It can even dirty your cartridges in your vacuum. but we
Hmm.
use the highest quality vacuum. So sometimes you have to vacuum to waste
Right.
and, just dispose of old water and fill the pool with new water, which
Right. Yeah.
that's fine. You got to do what you got to do. Your portable vacuum cleaner has only so much space to take in all that dirt because
Right.
it is heavy,
Right. Right.
very, very heavy amounts of dirt. And also, if if you don't have the option to waste on your vacuum, then the micro dirt is just going to go right back into your pool. It's going to bypass your cartridge and go just
Oh,
right back into the pool.
right.
So sometimes the best option is vacuuming to waste and having the water holes in the pool at the same time. If your water gets too low, just shut off the
Mm.
equipment until it's filled right back up to, the needed level.
Okay. And does that change anything as far as on the maintenance standpoint for your line of work? Are you having to constantly, think about getting additional equipment to maintain your customers' pools, or is it pretty much just straightforward and hook up your vacuum to that skimmer and just go to town on it?
Great question. So myself, because I am very dedicated to what I do and I love what I do, I do have a backup vacuum. I do have backup cartridges. I do have the capability to vacuum to waste.
Hmm.
But worst case scenario, let's say you're vacuuming a pool, your impeller gets clogged. I have all the tools accessible. Open up my motor really quick, clean up the impeller, and get right back to work.
That's pretty cool. So you're able to kind of do a job that in a sense avoids any damage to your client's existing pool equipment because you're using your own, which is neat in a sense that you're also not clogging up all their filters and making their equipment last longer by using your own, right? I mean, that's pretty much what that is.
Using your own portable vacuum cleaner is bypassing a lot of liabilities and a lot of unwanting scenarios for your homeowner's equipment. You're not having to depend on, is their pump strong enough? Is
Right.
their filter clogged and it's not going to vacuum good enough if I'm using the skimmer?
Hmm.
Every time I plug in my vacuum, I have zero liabilities that I'm not going to cause any. I don't have to
Right.
touch their equipment.
Yeah.
I don't have to touch it. I don't. All I got to do is empty that pump basket,
Hmm.
plug in my vacuum, and worst case scenario, let's just say something goes wrong with my vacuum. At least it's not the homeowner's equipment.
Yeah, you're right.
If it's my equipment, that's I'd rather deal with messing up my equipment than the
Right.
homeowner's equipment any day of the week.
That's
And it
actually
happens. I've burned my motors out.
right.
Big
Part of it.
deal. Replace it.
It's actually a really good strong point for homeowners because the worst thing that a homeowner can go through is a broken down motor from overheating because of clogs, and now they got to find somebody to replace it. And typically these things like to fail in the hottest part of the year. Everybody's busy. It's hard to get somebody to come out and fix your burnt out motor. So that's actually really good that you maintain your pools that way. We're a little bit short on time here, but is there any platforms that somebody can reach out to you if they're looking for pool maintenance in the city of El Paso?
Yeah. First of all, again, I wanted to say to you, to my brother Raphael, that you're the reason why I got into the pools, and I am forever grateful. I love what I do. Your Instagram is at Elite Pool Plumbing on Instagram. My Instagram is at Victory Pool Care LLC on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And also, I wanted to show the support
There
of Elite Pool Plumbing. What
you
is
go.
that? This side. I really love the shirts. If you're interested in the merch on Elite Pool Plumbing side, you can contact Rafael, my brother, at Elite Pool Plumbing as well.
There you
We
go.
are in the northeast of El Paso, Texas. If you're interested, look us up on Instagram. We're also on Google. Our
Okay.
most used platform is Instagram.
Okay. And what can a customer typically expect as far as service when they hire Victory Pool Care LLC?
They can expect consistency. If if you use Victory Pool Care LLC, we prioritize quality over quantity. We're
Hmm.
gonna vacuum, we're gonna skim, we're gonna
Hmm.
brush, we're gonna empty those baskets. We give multiple options, which are on the financial aspect. Do you want to provide your own chemicals, or do you want us to provide your own
Right.
chemicals? We have options, but our main service that we offer is quality based.
Okay. And is this weekly, monthly, bi-weekly?
In the cold season, we have the option of weekly and or bi-weekly. It depends on your situation. Do you have a heater? Is your pool indoors? Do you want to swim in it all year long?
Right.
But in the summertime, it's full on weekly pool service. There's actually no room for bi-weekly because, again, thinking of it from the temperature base point,
Mm-hmm.
it's 100 degrees. Your chlorine will evaporate. You need that weekly pool service to brush that algae, to get those chemicals balanced, to make sure those baskets are empty. So in the hot season, full on weekly. In the colder seasons, we have the option of weekly and or bi-weekly.
Okay. Well, that's great. So you guys heard it. Victory Pool Care LLC. Go give them a call. Reach out to them via social media. I'll post those links in the description down below somewhere in this video. And thanks again, Vic, for making the time to come on here and have our podcast session. It was really fun. I'm sure we'll do some more of these later on down the road. And
This was a super awesome experience on my part as well. Don't forget to follow We Are Pools, Elite Pool Plumbing, and Victory Pool Care LLC. Thanks for
uh,
your time. I can't wait to see where this channel goes.
I appreciate it. Thanks again, brother. You have a good one out there. So yeah, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of We Are Pools. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this and want to see some more in the future. So we'll see you guys on the next one.